Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we are doing something really cool. We're traveling back in time over 2,500 years, all the way to 600 BCE, to explore a marvel that has literally captivated human imagination for millennia. We are going to unpack the most elusive, the most mysterious of the seven wonders of the ancient world, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. We're going to use historical accounts, architectural theories, and ancient literature to reimagine this lost wonder in all its glory. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's dive right into this. But right off the bat, we've got to address a massive historical plot hole. Did this place even exist? You see, of all the seven wonders, the Hanging Gardens are easily the most intriguing because, well, there is absolutely zero archaeological evidence of them ever existing in the region of Babylon. But you know what? Rather than being a disappointment, this lack of physical evidence gives us a thrilling license to imagine. It allows us to piece together the facts and the history we do have to reconstruct this ancient marvel ourselves.
Part 1. A Lost Ancient Wonder, the Mystery of the Neo-Babylonian Empire. To set the stage, we are looking at modern-day Iraq, specifically the southernmost part of Mesopotamia. During the 19th to 16th centuries BCE, ancient Babylon was the absolute thriving heart of an empire. By 600 BCE, as the capital of the Neo-Babylonian Empire, it was in the midst of its golden age. It was a massive hub of culture, politics, and religion. Honestly, it was the largest city in the world at the time. And yet, incredibly, Babylonian texts from this era completely omit any mention of these magnificent gardens.
So, if there's no proof, where does the legend even come from? Well, we have zero local records. Our only clues come entirely from second-hand accounts by ancient Greek and Roman writers quoting earlier descriptions that have long since been lost. Writers like the Greek historian Diodorus Siculus and the geographer Strabo describe this amazing place. But here's the kicker. They never actually saw the gardens firsthand. This raises a fascinating question. Are the Hanging Gardens merely a romantic legend, spun from the imaginations of ancient Greek and Roman writers? And that brings us to part 2, the Nineveh mistake. Did history credit the wrong city? Now here is a massive historical curveball. Many historians believe the gardens were absolutely real, but they weren't located in the city of Babylon at all. They argue that history simply credited the wrong city, and the gardens were actually situated a little farther north, in a city called Nineveh.
No, what's really interesting here is the stark contrast. On one hand, in Babylon, there is zero archaeological evidence found for gardens, total lack of physical proof. But further north, in Nineveh, excavations, located in modern-day Mosul, have revealed extensive water systems and gardens built by King Sennacherib. It's hard, undeniable evidence of an elaborate tiered oasis. And it really forces us to ask if the accounts of ancient Babylon were simply mistakenly describing Nineveh all along.
Let's talk about King Sennacherib's engineering in Nineveh, because these gardens were famed for incredible feats that kept nature thriving all year round. The excavations revealed an elaborate water system stretching an astonishing 80 kilometers. He utilized a complex network of aqueducts and canals, large-scale dams, and early water screws channeling the river Tigris and bringing water down from high up in the mountains. Whether the Hanging Gardens were actually in Nineveh or Babylon, this exact kind of groundbreaking engineering would have been required to make a tiered oasis possible. It's wild to think about how human ingenuity has been conquering nature since ancient times.
Part 3. The King's Romantic Gift, Nebuchadnezzar II's masterpiece. Let's shift our focus back to the traditional Babylon theory for a second, because the story behind its creation is just incredibly captivating. Writing in the 1st century CE, the Roman Jewish historian Josephus quoted a Babylonian priest named Berosus. And according to this account, the gardens were commissioned by the Neo-Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar II. And the motive? Berosus stated that the king's wife and queen missed her scenic, mountainous homeland of Media. So, quote, the king built the gardens to remind her of home, to bring the lush mountains of Media to the plains of Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar supposedly built this towering green mountain right in the middle of a flat, arid desert, simply to cure his queen's homesickness. It is, without a doubt, an epic gesture of love. And this brilliantly illustrates what it took to pull off a gesture that massive. The botanical diversity had to be breathtaking. We aren't just talking about local flora like olive trees, date palms, grapevines, and figs. Oh no, Nebuchadnezzar would have imported exotics from across his vast empire. We're talking cotton plants brought all the way from India, cedar trees from Turkey, and pomegranate trees from Iran. Imagine standing there. The air would have been this thick, fragrant mix of sweet fruit, mint, lavender, and the deep woodiness of cedar trees.
To hold all of this life, the structure itself had to be mind-bogglingly massive.
The Greek historian Diodorus Siculus described a garden set within a square, measuring 100 feet long by 100 feet wide, built up in tiers that resembled a theater. The upper terrace of this artificial mountain stood over 20 meters tall. To put that in perspective for you, that's roughly the height of a modern 6-story building, just looming right over the desert landscape.
And then, when you stop to think about the massive weight this structure had to support, it gets even crazier. 7. That is how thick the brick foundation walls had to be in meters. 7 meters thick. Think about it. You have thousands of tons of wet soil, the deep invasive roots of oak and walnut trees, and the constant heavy flow of irrigation. The base had to be fixed incredibly deep within the earth just to keep the whole shebang from collapsing.
Part 4. Engineering an oasis, defying the desert. I mean, just try to figure out the logistical nightmare of this for a second. You have a massive, towering mountain of exotic plants and deep-rooted trees sitting under a blistering sun in a totally dry environment. How do you keep an oasis like this alive and thriving? How do you defy the very nature of the desert?
So the crucial point is how they solved this. The secret to this survival was pure ancient technology. The Greek writer Strabo described the use of what we now call the Archimedes screw. It consisted of cylindrical pipes containing screw-shaped moldings to capture water. As the mechanism rotates, it quite literally pumps water upwards, fighting gravity. Endless streams of water from the nearby Euphrates River were lifted terrace by terrace until they reached the highest irrigation ditches to feed the lush canopies above. A total game changer.
Part 5. Inside the Grand Terraces, a sensory tour of the ascending tiers. Okay, now that we understand the engineering and the history, let's actually step inside. Let's take all these ancient descriptions and translate them into a vivid, immersive experience as we walk through the ascending tiers of the Hanging Gardens together.
Imagine walking onto the ground floor. The first thing that strikes you is the vibrant color. Thick brick pillars support the towering structure, and at the base these columns are painted a brilliant, varnished cobalt blue. Set right into that blue are dazzling mosaics of copper and gold animals shining like stars. Above you, tangled vines hang down like emerald curtains against a backdrop of lime and chartreuse grass. And drifting in from the nearby river, you catch the distinct, refreshing scent of water hyacinth blossoms, smelling exactly like sweet apples.
Let's move on and see how this builds. Because as you walk among the swaying date palms, you encounter a striking gold-plated statue, the Lamassu. Now, a Lamassu is a deeply sacred Mesopotamian protective spirit. It features the body of a bull representing immense strength and fertility, the wings of an eagle symbolizing freedom, and the head of a human king, standing for logic and intelligence. These gleaming bronze and gold guardians were carefully placed to protect this royal temple of nature.
As we ascend the straight, incredibly steep stairways up to the sunlit higher terraces, the whole architecture changes. The columns shift from that cobalt blue to the color of desert sand, allowing the explosive colors of the plants to really take center stage. You hear the burbling of a hidden waterfall cascading down the building into gorgeous red and turquoise mosaic pools. The ingenious watering system creates this ethereal, magical mist in the air. The scent of sweet jasmine and healing eucalyptus fills your lungs. And over the turquoise waters of the Euphrates, you can hear the faint, intoxicating sound of harps drifting from a distant golden-pillared temple.
It's an absolutely awe-inspiring image, isn't it? But it leaves us with one final kind of haunting question. Where is it now? Many historians believe that a massive earthquake in the 1st century CE could have completely dismantled the gardens. Are the ruins of the Hanging Gardens currently resting at the bottom of the Euphrates River? It's highly possible that the remnants of this magnificent structure are sitting there right now like an underwater kingdom. Excavating the river hasn't been safe so far, but man, it forces us to wonder, what other ancient secrets are quietly waiting in the deep, just ready to rewrite history once again?